so let's get into this. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating, I think. It's about human behavior, honesty, and, well, context.
Yeah, we're pulling from Dan Ariely's book, Predictably Irrational, specifically Chapter 12.
Right, the context of our character, Part 2. And the subtitle is The Real Hook: Why Dealing with Cash Makes Us More Honest.
It really challenges that idea that, our character is just fixed. Like, you're either honest or you're not.
Exactly. Ariely's work suggests it's way more complicated. The situation, especially whether actual cash is involved, seems to matter a lot.
It implies our environment can kind of nudge our moral compass.
So our goal here is to unpack that. Does physical money really have this power to keep us on the straight and narrow? Why?
And crucially, what does it mean for us now, as we use cash less and less?
Yeah, that's the big question hanging over it. It's not just about bad apples. It's about the subtle things that make us more likely to fudge things.
The tangibility of money seems to be a key psychological trigger.
Okay, so he starts with a brilliant example. Super relatable. MIT dorms.
But communal fridge experiment,
Yeah.
yes.
So picture this. They put 6 packs of Coke in some fridges.
And in others, just a plate with 6 $1 bills. Simple setup.
And the result?
Well, the Cokes, they pretty much vanished. Gone within about 72 hours.
Standard dorm behavior, maybe. Taking a Coke feels minor league?
Seems that way. But the dollar bills?
Let me guess. Still there.
Untouched. Just sitting there on the plates.
That's genuinely wild, isn't it? I mean, value-wise, 6 Cokes cost more than $6.
Right. Logically, taking the Cokes is the bigger theft in pure dollar terms.
But nobody touched the cash. So why? Why does taking a Coke seem kind of okay, but taking bills feels wrong?
That's the core question. Ariely mentions, taking a pencil from work versus taking 10 cents from petty cash to buy one. One feels almost okay. The other feels like actual stealing.
It's that feeling. The psychological weight is different.
Precisely. And his hypothesis is that dishonesty gets a whole lot easier when it's one step removed from cash.
Like a buffer zone for your conscience.
Exactly. That layer of abstraction seems to dilute the sense of wrongdoing.
And you see this scaled up, right? Like big scandals. Not usually someone grabbing cash from a vault. It's accounting tricks, weird stock options.
Backdated options, yeah. Or lobbyists throwing fancy parties for politicians, drug companies funding doctor vacations.
It's all value-changing hands. Huge amounts sometimes, but it's indirect. It's not a straightforward cash bribe.
The value is there, but it's wrapped up in something else. Assets, services, complex transactions. Ariely uses that powerful thought experiment.
Oh, the Enron one.
Yeah. Would the guys who engineered that collapse, wiping out pensions, would they have physically taken cash from an old lady's purse?
And you just instinctively feel, no, probably not.
Right. The direct act feels different, much more loaded morally, even if the financial harm to the victim is the same or worse with the complex scheme.
That distance makes all the difference. But it also makes it hard to study because we're so good at justifying things.
Oh, completely. Rationalization is key. Office supplies are a perk. Everyone takes a Coke. It was just a temporary accounting measure.
You build a story around it so you don't have to face the dishonesty head on.
Which is why they needed a clever experiment to strip away those ready-made excuses.
So no Cokes this time.
Right. They used symbolic currency, tokens, something that stood for money, but wasn't money itself and didn't have those social norms attached.
Okay, so how did that experiment work?
All right, they got MIT students again. Task: solve simple math problems. Payment: 50 cents per correct answer. 3 conditions.
First, the baseline, the control.
Yep. Control group. Solved problems, handed in the worksheet, experimenter checked it, paid them cash, no way to cheat.
And they averaged.
About 3.5 correct problems. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, direct work, direct pay, verified. Makes sense.
Then, condition 2, the cash cheating group. Solve the problems, but then told to tear up their worksheets.
The honor system. Sort of.
Exactly. They just told the experimenter how many they got right and got paid cash based on their claim. Cheating is possible.
And what did they claim?
Average claim was 6.2 problem.
Okay, so 6.2 claimed versus 3.5 actual potential. That's about 2.7 problems worth of, let's call it inflation.
Some definite padding there.
Yep.
Seems plausible, right? Pocketing a little extra cash when no one's looking.
Yeah, seems within the realm of expected small dishonesty.
Okay, now for the interesting part. Condition 3. The token cheating group. Same deal, solved problems, tore up worksheet, reported their score, but...
They didn't get cash right away.
No. They received tokens, plastic tokens maybe, one for each problem they claimed to solve.
Just placeholders.
Right. Then they had to take these tokens, walk like 12 feet across the room to a different station.
And swap the tokens for actual cash there.
Exactly. With a different person. Just adding that one little step, that physical separation and the intermediate token.
So the only difference is that layer of abstraction. What happened?
The average claim score wasn't 6.2 like the cash group. It shot up to 9.4 problems.
Whoa. 9.4. Seriously?
Seriously. So if the baseline is 3.5, the cheating in the token group was 9.4 minus 3.5.
Yeah.
That's 5.9 problems worth.
Wait, so going from 2.7 problems of cheating with cash to 5.9 with tokens.
More than double. Just by adding that one step, that symbolic currency, the amount of cheating exploded.
That's a huge jump. It's almost unbelievable for such a minor change.
And it gets even starker. Airily mentions that across thousands of participants in similar cash-based honesty tests over time, maybe only 4 people ever cheated all the way, claim that they got everything right.
It's like 4 out of 2,000.
Tiny percentage.
Basically negligible.
Yeah.
But in this one token experiment with only about 450 participants total, 24 people claimed the maximum score.
24.
And every single one of them was in the token condition, none in the cash condition.
So for a chunk of people, the tokens didn't just make cheating easier, it seemed to completely switch off the guilt mechanism. It really seems like it. That psychological distance just opened the floodgates for some. Makes you wonder, like the source says, what if the delay was longer? Get tokens today, cash them next week.
Could it get even worse? Yeah, unsettling thought.
And what's almost as fascinating is that we don't seem to see this coming in ourselves. They asked other students to predict the results.
Let me guess. They thought tokens wouldn't make a difference.
Spot on. They reasoned rationally that a token equals cash, so why would behavior change?
But it did, dramatically. Shows we're kind of blind to how these subtle context shifts affect our own impulses, doesn't it?
Totally. We overestimate our own rational consistency. And this blindness, you can see how it might contribute to bigger things. You know, the figures mentioned like Skilling or Ebers, they likely didn't see themselves as thieves in the classic sense.
Because they weren't dealing with piles of cash. They were dealing with numbers, options, reports, stuff that's steps removed.
Exactly. The abstraction provides cover.
Okay, so it's not just labs and massive fraud. This one-step removed thing crops up in everyday stuff too. The source has examples, right?
Oh, yeah. Insurance claims are a big one. That estimate of people inflating claims by about 10%.
Right. Lost a 27-inch TV, claim a 32-inch. Feels different than shoplifting a TV.
It does. You're stretching the truth on a form, which translates to more money later, but it doesn't feel like grabbing cash from the insurance agent's hand. The process buffers the feeling.
Or that wardrobing thing. Buying clothes, wearing them out, then returning them.
Costs retailers billions. Again, it's not walking out with unpaid merchandise. It's using the return policy, a series of transactions. It feels different. Less like outright theft, more like bending the rule.
Expense reports, too. Classic example.
Totally. It's easier to justify, say, buying a pricey drink for a client than expensing a slightly cheaper souvenir mug. Or having your assistant submit the receipts adds another layer.
Even where you buy something matters. Like expensing a personal item bought far from home feels less iffy than buying it at the airport shop near your office.
Apparently so. The physical distance adds to the psychological distance. It all makes the rationalization smoother.
Airley's own story about his Skype account getting hacked is perfect here.
Yeah, the layers of removal are so clear. The hackers stole calling time, not cash, directly from him.
The hacker probably didn't get cash themselves, just free calls.
Right. And they stole from Skype, technically, not Airly. Plus, it was charged via PayPal automatic, electronic.
Each step makes it fuzzier. Less like direct theft, more like system exploitation.
Exactly. That fuzziness seems to be the key. It lets the conscience off the hook. The hacker likely didn't feel like a pickpocket.
And that fuzziness is the big worry going forward, isn't it? With cash becoming less common.
Definitely. We're moving to cards, phones, online transfers, crypto. Everything's becoming more abstract, more electronic.
Which banks love, obviously.
Yeah.
It's efficient, profitable. The source notes the soaring profits.
But it means that natural break on dishonesty, the physical reality of cash, is fading.
So the big challenge is, if that primary trigger for honesty weakens, how do we keep ourselves in check?
We're increasingly dealing with numbers on screens, not actual bills and coins. And the experiments show that distance makes it easier to cheat, often without even realizing you're doing it.
And the really striking thing is who was doing the cheating in these experiments? MIT students. Smart, presumably decent people.
Right, it wasn't a study of hardened criminals, which suggests this isn't about being a bad person, it's a human tendency.
So the cheating they saw is probably the low end of what people might do in these contexts.
Quite possibly. It suggests most of us are vulnerable when the situation removes that direct link to cash. Our desire to be ethical can get overridden.
Imagine working in a company where maybe the boss encourages pushing ethical lines, but it's all done through non-monetary targets or complex systems.
Good people, people who'd never steal from the till, might go along with it because it doesn't feel like stealing. The fuzziness bypasses their conscience.
It reminds me of that Upton Sinclair quote Ari Lee uses.
It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it. Yeah.
And Ari Lee's addition is key. It's even harder when it's not direct salary, but non-monetary stuff. The distance provides even more cover.
And it's not just individuals. Systems can be set up this way, like airlines with frequent flyer miles.
Oh, right, making you use double miles for dates they know are popular, essentially devaluing the miles you earned.
It feels like they're taking something back, but it's miles, not cash. It's one step removed.
Or banks with weird billing cycles, like that two-cycle billing thing.
Yeah, charging interest on money you've already paid off if you don't clear the whole new balance. It's complex, buried in the fine print.
Feels sneaky, even if it's legal. It's extracting value indirectly.
Once you start looking for it, this pattern of dishonesty being easier when removed from cash, you really do see it everywhere.
So let's loop back. Why IS Cash special? What gives it this moral weight?
Well, the source suggests a couple of things. One is pure symbolism. Think about a dollar bill. The engravings, United States of America, in God we trust. Washington's face.
It feels official, like a contract.
Exactly. It seems to tap into a sense of civic duty or an honor code just by holding it. It represents more than just its exchange value.
And it's concrete.
Absolutely. A dollar is a dollar. There's no ambiguity. You take it, you know exactly what you took. It's undeniable.
Unlike taking a pencil or a Coke or inflating an expense claim or backdating an option. With those, you can tell yourself a story.
Right. You find a narrative, a justification, the fuzziness lets your conscience sleep. Cash just stares you in the face.
The contrast is stark.
Yeah.
Tangible, symbolic cash versus abstract, manipulable, non-cash value.
But, and this is the kicker, we live in a world where that tangible cash is disappearing.
Driven by tech, convenience, profit.
The trend is clear. Electronic is taking over.
So the really big question this leaves us with is, if cash, this powerful honesty trigger, is fading, how do we manage our own behavior? How do we keep that tendency to cheat in check when dealing with abstract value?
It means we probably need more conscious effort, maybe new social norms or personal rules, because the automatic brake is getting weaker. Airily flips that Willie Sutton line.
About why he robbed banks. Because that's where the money is.
Right. Airily suggests maybe today the real money, the place where value is being improperly extracted, isn't where the cash is. It's in those non-cash, one-step removed transactions.
That's where the vulnerability lies now.
Seems like it.
So wrapping up this deep dive, the main takeaway is pretty clear, that distance from physical cash really does mess with our honesty in ways we often don't predict.
Yeah, the context matters hugely. The more abstract the transaction, the easier it is to rationalize bending or breaking the rules, even for people who genuinely want to be ethical.
It's a powerful reminder that good intentions aren't always enough. We need to understand these psychological pulls, especially as transactions get less tangible.
It requires active awareness.
Which leaves you, the listener, with something to chew on. As your world becomes increasingly cashless, taps, swipes, online points, digital wallets, what does that mean for your honesty? And maybe more importantly, what active steps can you take to keep your own conscience switched on when that traditional physical reminder of value isn't there anymore?
Definitely something worth considering next time you make a purchase without reaching for your wallet. It demands a new kind of vigilance.